The numbers told the story. They always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gill Alexander on VSiN.
Good Tuesday morning to you. It is a numbers game at VSiN, the sports betting network. VSiN.com, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV. However you're taking a sim, we appreciate it. It's Gill Alexander. It is Kelley Bydlon, everybody.
What's up?
Producer number 9, so much more than producer. I was walking out of here yesterday, and someone was like, hey, tell producer number 9 I said hello. I was like, you mean Kelley? He's like, yeah, Kelley. I was like, oh, no. Maybe. I don't know if Kelley would be upset about that.
It's all good.
What a time to be alive. What a week.
That's right.
NFL draft, a little more than 48 hours away. Guardians controlling their own destiny now. We'll talk about that later. Good news, bad news. Still games to be played is the bad news. Drew Dinsick will join us to talk NFL draft. We'll talk NBA playoffs with him, tennis, Sporer on baseball, Paul Carr on the Premier League. We got some midweek Premier League. Eric Eager. How about Eric Eager showing up? SumerSports. Later this week, we hope to get Cleve TA to talk draft with us as well as the draft approaches. We must begin. Oh, before we begin, tennis. Overnight, again, VSiN.com/picks. Every host, every guest here at VSiN, no matter the sport, all of our picks are logged at VSiN.com/bets. Is it VSiN.com/bets or VSiN.com/picks?
Let me see.
What's going on with me right now?
I think it's picks.
I think it's picks. Something's happening to me. VSiN.com/picks. And so it's all there.
Yeah, picks.
We just did our 5th clay court tennis match in a row overnight on Arantxa Rus, getting by Brenda Fruhvirtova. And we have one more coming up this morning. This is Madrid now. The ladies start today. The men start tomorrow. This is a 1,000. So it's the highest thing outside of a slam, in other words, in Madrid. It'll be Madrid, it'll be Rome, and then it'll be the French Open. The one remaining this morning is, as we go for our 6th straight winner, is Ana Bogdan. Ana Bogdan is the play this morning. Let me see if the price is right. I should probably have done that beforehand. But Ana Bogdan is taking on Wang Jiu. Bogdan spelled, Kelley, for those who need to know this information.
Bogdanovich without the Vich.
Without the Ovich.
Ovich.
Watch how you say that. Yeah, she's still at a price that you can play her at. She's plus money, so play it. Ana Bogdan against Wang Jiu is the play. Should start this morning. All right, NBA last night. Oh, my God. They said this many times. I agree wholeheartedly. It's the greatest doubleheader in TNT history last night.
Ooh, okay.
Greatest doubleheader.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of people leaping to that conclusion immediately, but it was awesome. I'm not going to say it wasn't great.
And guess what? It didn't include Cleveland and Orlando. Cleveland took a 2-0 lead in that best of 7 first-round series. There you go. It's the doubleheader started with the Sixers and the Knicks. Knicks came into the game up 1-0 in what was one of the 2 competitive games of the game ones, if you will, around the NBA. Game 2 last night. We'll just go through the end of it. It's 100-96 Sixers with Kyle Lowry going to the line with 47 seconds left in the game to try to make it a 6-point lead. A great career free throw shooter. He makes one of 2. 101-96 Sixers. 47 seconds left. What's the Sixers win probability at that point? Up 5.
Oh, man. Good call.
I wish I had the exact number for you, but I didn't. I didn't look at that moment.
See if I can find it.
Knicks come down court. Jalen Brunson is frantically dribbling the ball down the court. They're throwing the ball around. It gets back to Brunson. He hits a 3. An amazing 3 because he is not having a good game, and he really, in clutch situation, hits it. 27 seconds left. 101-99 Sixers. Lowry, then nobody's calling a timeout here, Kelley. Kyle Lowry decides not to call timeout, and in fact, inbounds it probably way too quickly to Tyrese Maxey, whose arm gets tangled, probably gets bumped. The ball goes high in the air. Maxey recovers it, but falls to the ground. Traveling is not called. He tries to pass it through Hart's legs to Lowry, stolen by Hart, gets it to DiVincenzo, who misses a 3. Hartenstein crashes the boards. Nobody thinks about boxing him out. Murders Lowry in the process, kicks it to Anunoby while he's falling to the ground. He gets it to DiVincenzo again, who, without even any conscience, shoots another 3, this time good. And just like that, the Knicks are up 1. What a sequence that was. 102-101. Ben Stiller and MSG going ballistic. 13.1 seconds left. Lowry has to be helped to the bench. The place is pandemonium. Sixers down 1. Then Maxey coast to coast to the rim. I don't know if it was blocked by Hartenstein or if just his momentum made him miss it. Either way, rebound Anunoby. He gets fouled. He makes both with 6.6 seconds left. Now keep in mind, it's still a 3-point game. Knicks don't foul. It gets to Embiid, who just gets it off in time. No good. Knicks with the first half of the greatest doubleheader in TNT history. What a finish. And the Knicks go up in the series 2-0 with a 104-101 win. They do not cover. Sixers ATS gets the money. The adjusted series price, by the way, Game 3 in Philly, the Sixers are 4.5-point favorites. The adjusted series price on the Sixers is plus 315-ish. Shop around. Would you, if you didn't have your Sixers futures, would you dip on that?
No, I thought it was going to be a little longer, actually, because we talked about that yesterday, and I said I might be jumping in on that side. I thought it was going to be a longer number, and not at that price. I'm not. Now I'm a mega Sixers fan. Let's just root them on. Yeah. Let's go Embiid. I laid the points with the Knicks last night. That didn't get there, obviously. The big story this morning, the timeouts. You and I were talking a little bit about it before the show, but man, that was. Lowry inbounded the ball too quickly. That's the biggest storyline that's really not getting talked about enough.
Yeah. You're too much of a veteran to have done that.
You are too much of a veteran to have done that. Yeah. And that's when you saw Nick Nurse, he almost pump fakes the timeout because he doesn't have enough time to get to call timeout. Lowry inbounds the ball. And then I don't really know what the still frame I keep seeing this morning. Okay, when Nurse calls a timeout, the ball's out of Maxi's hands. It's a loose ball. He doesn't have control of the ball. So everybody's losing it over that this morning. I know the Sixers are appealing they're sending something to the NBA office about the officiating the last two games. That one, I was at that point. I'm not going to cover my Knicks spread, so I should be rooting for the Sixers. So I'm saying this through completely unbiased glasses here. There was no timeout that should have been called. I'm a little surprised Maxey didn't make that layup. You were talking about that, how quick he got down the other end. I was like, oh my gosh! After all that, Maxey's about to catch.
But if you're going at that speed, sometimes that that won't go. The thing about it is, though, if Embiid is healthy, does he buck out Hardenstein? He looked miserable all game. Miserable. By the way, the 101 points scored by the Sixers, he and Maxey had 69 of them. It was just a two-man show, really.
It really was.
And so, Embiid, though, after the game, says, we're going to win this series. We're going to win this series. We'll see. Got to bounce back from that.
Do feel bad for the guy. It's just he's doing everything he can out there. He's clearly hampered, and he's still putting up monster numbers.
Lakers and
34 points, 10 rebounds.
Lakers and Nuggets said, hold my beer. Lakers led by 20 early in the third quarter. They led by 10 after 3. Nuggets got it to 83-81 with 6:45 left, but two LeBron threes back-to-back got it back to an 8-point Lakers lead, 89-81. 93-89 Lakers. Teams have been trading buckets. Jokic just uses AD down low, an amazing fake and under and one, a three-point play after the free throw, 93-92 Lakers with 2:12 left. Reeves misses a three, but LeBron steals the ball, streaking jam. Not actually streaking down court. If he was actually streaking, that would be a story. Streaking jam.
Big story.
95-92 Lakers, 1:23 left. 8 seconds later, after Aaron Gordon makes the unsung play of the day, saves a contested loose ball that was headed out of bounds, gets it to Porter Jr., 29-footer, nothing but nylon, 95 all, 1:15 to go. Russell to the rack, though. 97-95. What a game he played. 1:03 left. Timeout, Denver. Bookmark that one because LeBron had things to say. Then a foul on LeBron. Murray, who was 4 of 17 the first 3 quarters of this game, hits 2 free throws, 97 apiece, 58 seconds left. Then LeBron to the rack. 99-97 with 48 seconds left. Then Murray, a 20-footer from the right elbow to tie it back up at 99. I cannot tell you how many times out loud by myself I'm going, oh my God. How are they hitting these shots? 30 seconds left. This is Jamal Murray from the playoff run last year.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Playoff Jamal Murray, man.
30 seconds left. Lakers ball, tie game. LeBron basically shoves KCP down and finds himself so wide open with 16 seconds left that I guess he forgot about with time, and he was just like, well, I'm this wide open. I got to shoot this. He clanks the 3. No good. Rebound Porter Jr. No timeout called. He gets it to Murray. 16-foot fadeaway on the baseline over AD. Good. The buzzer. Bang.
What a shot.
Nuggets win it 101-99. Denver had not led since 5-3 with just over 2 minutes into the game, into the ball game. Largest blown lead for the Lakers this season. Oh, my God, what a night of basketball. And the Nuggets go up 2-0 in the best-of-7 first-round series. The Lakers adjusted series price, not nearly as short as the Sixers, as you might imagine, plus 875. Denver a 1-point favorite in Game 3 in L.A.
Does it make you, I feel like you ask me these questions all the time, are you more confident or less confident in the Lakers being able to put up a chance in this series after these 2 games?
Not a chance, but I do think they'll do the perfunctory. They'll win 1 game, right? Okay. And Denver will win it in 5. I
think it's probably that, too. Yeah. That's gut-wrenching if you're a Lakers fan last night. Like,
Brutal.
They played about as good a game as they could play.
They did it in game 1 too. They played great.
I mean, and they did 4 games last year where they got swept. They played incredible.
I don't think the Lakers lost that game last night.
I don't think so either. Yes, Denver won it.
You blew a 20-point lead, and somehow you didn't actually lose it. Now, Shaq says differently. Shaq says, yeah, you did. Why did you double Jokic when you were up 20? Why do you double Jokic and let the other guys get their groove? That was his big thing after the game.
Okay.
But, certainly down the stretch, there was no gaffe where you choked up the game like the Sixers did.
Yeah, it's amazing what this starting unit does for Denver, too. I mean, you just pull up a box score, too, and it's 4 or 5 guys every night. Like, it's not like you're getting the random dude off the bench having a big game. You know exactly what's coming, and you can't stop it.
How good was that finish last night with Denver and the Lakers? Just trading shots.
So awesome.
Trading excellence down the stretch. That was awesome. And
Murray didn't even see the shot go in. That's always one of those, I love those sports stories where, he didn't see the shot and he hears the crowd and he's like, well, I guess it was good.
And AD still being excavated from the Denver pile. Celebration in the corner. Yeah. He just got swallowed by it. It's incredible. We'll come back. Drew Dinsick on the NBA. Get any tennis thoughts from him in Madrid. And, of course, his NFL draft thoughts on the heels of our megapod yesterday. It's a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Experience the thrill of the NFL Draft with VSiN's exclusive coverage on Thursday starting at 6 p.m. Eastern with VSiN Primetime host Tim Murray, Jonathan Von Tobel, and special guests Mike Golick Sr. and Mike Golick Jr. as they dive deep into the draft prospects and predictions. Stay locked in for a special edition of the GM Shuffle at 8 p.m. Eastern, where former NFL exec Michael Lombardi and Femi Abebefe bring you real-time analysis of the first-round picks. Michael will give his thoughts on every draft pick and trade as they happen. Watch the special edition of the GM Shuffle on VSiN, DraftKings Network, or on VSiN's YouTube page. Cap off the night then at 11 p.m. Eastern with VSiN Tonight, where they will wrap up all the first-round action. Find all your NFL draft betting insights, including Matt Human's mock draft at vsin.com/draft. What a night. Gonna be good.
Can't wait. I believe Tim Murray has a mock draft up there now,
Tim Murray has a mock draft. That's right. Everybody's mocking. We were kind of mocking yesterday, but not really. On the Beating the Book podcast yesterday, Drew Dinsick and Luke Swain, Vegas Refund, were kind enough to spend an hour talking NFL draft. And what do you know? Drew is here now. You can follow him at Twitter, or on Twitter rather, at whale_capper. Deep Dive Podcast with Andy Molitor, and of course Bet the Edge from NBC Sports with Jake Croucher. Drew joins us now from his lair in the LBC, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. Drew, let me start with this. I don't usually like to, you know how people are like, oh, well, we moved that line. I never like to go there because you never really know. But I will say this, and we get enough listeners to speculate on this. Something that happened on the podcast yesterday was so specific that I think it's almost impossible to think it wasn't you. But what I'm referring to is the notion of exactas, which are available at one shop here in Nevada, but certainly at the DraftKings of the world elsewhere. And I kind of goaded you into it by asking the leading question of, hey, what blows up this draft? So if you could repeat what that scenario was and how this moved volatilely yesterday, if that's a word.
Yeah, I mean, the volatility could have been as little as a couple $100 hitting the board there.
Yeah.
For what it's worth,
all day long,
and I guess,
back and forth.
And I guess we should take a little bit of a step backwards, because after we were done recording, the highest liquidity pools went up offshore. And there was a notable series of bets made on Jaden Daniels to go number 2.
Yes.
I think, I watched the screen pretty closely. I know exactly what the limits are. I know how the auto mover is working there. I would say somebody put in the ballpark of 100K to win 20K on Daniels too. And that's not like, hey, this price is running away. This is a done deal. Somebody knows. type of activity, but it's strong enough that there's, that's obviously coming from somebody who has a sincere opinion as opposed to just, speculating. So, I think it's kind of noteworthy that the price on Daniels is becoming, is getting into that range where it could just run away at some point.
$4, by the way, now at DraftKings.
Yeah.
Daniels to go to.
Yeah, I think that my kind of read on that is that the key Drake May holdout was Daniel Jeremiah, and he on Pat McAfee effectively capitulated and said, I think it should be May, but everybody's telling me Daniels, and that was sort of the final domino as far as I can tell you. I still don't know if the commies have made up their mind. If they, I've heard it is a house divided. In terms of people with different opinions, which is why there's kind of been a push-pull. But whatever the case is, if you want to now put Daniels in 2, that actually kind of makes our wild, insane, kind of theory, I believe, a little bit more plausible. From what I've heard about the Patriots process, they had a higher rating on Jaden Daniels than Drake May, and I think they were hoping Daniels would be their guy at 3. And ultimately, if they can't pull the trigger on May, and if they don't have a trade partner to come up and get May at 3, which was kind of what the Vikings assets currently would allow them to do, then the chances that they just go insane and take a wide receiver and punt on quarterback till next year is not crazy, considering how good of a prospect Marvin Harrison Jr. is. And then basically, you would teed me up on, well, if that happens, then what? And I would tell you that then, the Cardinals are going to look to come out of this draft with an elite wide receiver. I think that's what every single smoke sign and every single kind of conversation has been telling me, which means they would be almost certainly in the Malik Neighbors business at 4. And I just think that's like the highly correlated pair, 3-4. If Harrison goes 3, Neighbors 4. But ultimately, this is just sort of flying in the face of the conventional wisdom that it's going to be QB at the top. And I would still say that's by far and away the most likely scenario. This is more just sort of postulating what if, because there are still a lot of unknowns. It's kind of wild that it's Tuesday of draft week and the number 2 pick isn't, relatively, ensconced at this point, considering, we think high likelihood it's going to be a quarterback, and we just don't know for sure which one.
I probably should have started with this because we started the podcast with it yesterday. I think it was a good place to start. And so let's backtrack. How do you view this draft from a leakage standpoint, if you will, as compared to previous drafts?
This is as airtight from a team employee side of things as I've ever experienced. And it is as loosey-goosey from a player team and agent standpoint as I can remember. Almost all of the quote unquote insider stuff, almost all of the kind of publicly reported from the information people in the NFL business, from what I can connect the dots, is coming from agents and PR people. And honestly, like, there are folks, and I'm not going to get anyone in trouble. There are folks who haven't been answering texts or WhatsApps or signals. And I'm kind of wondering if there's like tracking software on people's phones and they're like sincerely concerned or nervous about like communicating electronically. Because almost all the only kind of conversations I've had have been in person. Nothing via messaging anymore. And so there may be more checks and balances to prevent leakage this year than in years past, and I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. I don't know that. I'm speculating, but
from the NFL itself, right? From the NFL itself saying, "Hey, keep it tight."
Sure.
Yeah,
sure, surely, and like in years past, the NFL would go to absurd lengths to try to keep drama at the top of the draft. Like, you guys remember the year Kyler Murray went number 1?
Yes.
That was my bridge jumper that year. He was available a week out at, I don't know, minus 300 or something like that. And I was like, this is done. Like, they're clearly taking Murray. Like, why is this price still here? And I had, just an absolutely absurd amount of my bankroll on Murray 1. And then, the week or, the day of the draft, the NFL runs Ian Rappaport out there to be like, the Cardinals are having last minute visits with Nick Bosa. And you're like, no, they're not. Like, what? No, this is done. Like, they've already got the jersey. Like, I had a friend who was in the jersey business who was like, yeah, we've made all the Kyler Murray jerseys. Like, it's over. And Rappaport's out here trying to give some drama that it could be Nick Bosa. They don't know for sure. No, they did. The market price at that point was minus 2,000. Like, it's like, stop. Like, this is over. But anyway, I don't know that they're doing it for gambling purposes or if it's about the drama, but whatever the case is, they've done a very, very good job of sort of getting everyone who works for an NFL team to keep their mouths shut this year.
Yeah, the Telegram/Signal, that Signal with a C, point is a fascinating one. Yeah. I hadn't thought about that.
I'm glad Drew clarified because I've got a lot of questions too about like, do you think this is because of gambling? Like, there's a lot, and I'm like, I don't really know. Like, I'm not going to say yes or no, but it also just the trickle-down effect for the reporters, right? A lot of the times reporters, you're getting things from both the team and the agents. And if you're not getting so much from the team now, this becomes a little even wackier for all of us trying to bet this.
True. Yeah. Hey, this goes back to the famous Palo-Banchero draft where Woj was only getting info from the teams and not getting anything from the Magic, and that was what begot all of that insanity. And like, I think we live in a similar world. And honestly, like all of the Jaden Daniels stuff last week, where his price crashed and his agent was having a meltdown online, all that stuff. Like, that to me, I think that was driven all by the agent side of things, and them being upset about the commies not just committing. And I think ultimately it's going to be interesting to see how the chips fall relative to what is out there now, because I think there's going to be more surprises than people realize.
60 seconds, Drew. I want people to go listen to the podcast, the Beating the Book podcast with you and Luke Swain, Vegas Refund. But can you share the wide receiver thought that you had? That bet that is still available.
I don't remember which one, man. We talked about so many bets.
6.5.
Under 6.5.
Under 6.5.
Sorry, man.
Yeah.
Yes, my bridge jumper this week, this year is under 6.5 wide receivers. I laid the juice on that. I hit it multiple times, and really my thinking is just that after the top three, there are questions now about that entire next tier. There are injury concerns about Brian Thomas Jr. There are character concerns about Mitchell. There are injury or just in general overreaching concerns about Worthy. I think ultimately you could see 4 or 5 wide receivers instead of the 6 or 7 that is projected, and 7 to me is a reach. So I don't mind laying the juice on under 6.5 wide receivers.
Yeah, cost you about minus 270-ish right now, but Drew was saying, as he just did right there, let's just be 4 in the end, if not 5. Shouldn't be a sweat even. We'll come back. His thoughts on the NBA playoffs and maybe some Madrid tennis. Drew Dinsick, Numbers Game, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back on a numbers game, live from Bar Canada, the D, downtown Las Vegas. Gill Alexander, Kelley Bydlon. We get tweets at Beating the Book. This is from yesterday. The numbers guys. Hi, Gill. First time, long time. Is Bill 80 drinking Atomic Blue Mountain Dew in the infamous commercial? I think Pepsi has long since retired the flavor. Is it coming back? My barber uses it to put the combs in. Little question about the Bill 80 newsletter commercials. LFC title records. I had tickets on Scotty this weekend, so I was constantly hearing a Southern gentleman's voice in the back of my head muttering, "Engage, baby, having scenario." Thanks, Gill. Glad it came home. Good for you. Let's see. Nate Goggins talking about how that poll had Paul Pierce as the 5th greatest player of all time. That player's poll.
Of everything that happened yesterday, that might still be my favorite thing.
He said, don't forget Paul Pierce was able to come back from that horrific injury in the 2008 finals where he was taken off the court in the wheelchair. It was more of a, what do you call those things in old Roman times? It wasn't really a wheel. It was a wheelchair.
Like a cart?
No, it was almost like where you carry people.
A chariot?
A chariot. Yeah, there you go. A chariot. Thank you so much. All right. And then just from here this morning, let me get to a couple here. This is from Kevin Ryan. Gill, the emotional ups and downs I experienced last night with a 2-team moneyline parlay on the Knicks and Nuggets may never be experienced again. Well, at least not until my next bad beat. And Trust the Glove, thank you for staying up for the game. Great recap. Too old to pull that off anymore myself. Drew Dinsick is kind enough to join us for a second segment, as he always is here on Tuesdays on a numbers game, at Whale_Capper. And again, Deep Dive Podcast and Bet the Edge, courtesy of Progressive, the Progressive guest line. Tennis real quick, Madrid, it's a 1,000 tournament. Women started this morning, men tomorrow. Did you make any futures plays?
I got a little bit of Sabalenka on the women's side because she was 5-1 compared to Rybakina, and Iga couldn't square that with the altitude and the kind of importance of serve. If Sabalenka does anything on clay, it's here. It's pretty low stakes for me, though. I got so much going on in the NBA right now, and we'll ultimately have a lot locked up in the draft. So I'm dancing pretty lately in tennis at the moment.
It is an amazing time where like multiple sports, right? Tennis, baseball, draft. I got things going on, everything. Like basketball is almost the one where I don't have anything. Let's talk basketball since you do. Yesterday, you also said it. Best doubleheader you can ever remember in TNT playoff history?
For my money, yes. And, of course, as we go deeper into the playoffs and the stakes get higher, people think those games matter more. But I will forever be around one, that's my favorite time with the back to, two games going on at the same time and back to back like that. And I guess we should say we don't really know that the Knicks won because I don't know if you heard, but Philadelphia did file a grievance.
That's right. Stay tuned, everybody.
The NBA, they may look at the tape and decide that actually Philadelphia won. We'll withhold judgment there. But no, in seriousness, the fact that kind of the main story coming out of both of the losers was complaining about the refs, I thought was hilarious, because if you've been watching to this point in the playoffs, you will have noticed a very specific trend, and that is many fewer points than actually the market was expecting. And that is in two parts. One is the possessions go down. That happens every year. That shouldn't have surprised anyone. But the other is that, the fouls are being called less aggressively. And if you haven't been watching the NBA since the All-Star break, then maybe you didn't know that this was happening. But it does feel like whatever kind of emphasis the league, kind of gave to the referees post All-Star break, they doubled down on it for the playoffs. And guess what?
Sure did.
That's awesome.
Yes.
No one wanted to see those two games last night decided by free throws on cheap stuff. Like, it honestly, the fact that, that both of those games were decided by, elite playmaking, rebounding, shot making, like, hallelujah. Like, and I, we kind of going to the spectacle and the magical, nature of those two comebacks, particularly the Knicks one. Like, when Kyle Lowry goes to the free throw line up 4, I threw my, I have decent stakes on Knicks to win this one. I thought the opening price was absurd with Philly as favorites. I'm heavily into the Knicks here. And, he goes to the free throw line up 4. And I threw my phone. I'm like, man, this is like 98% over. Like I don't even know what
asking
sequence could possibly get me back into this game.
We were asking out loud. What was the Sixers win probability at that moment?
Had to be 98.5, 99, something in that ballpark. It was a big number. And I'm just kind of resigned to, because I thought game 2 was going to be the gimme, right? Like, one day turnaround for, an ill Tyrese Maxey and a hobbled Joel Embiid. Like that was supposed to be the gimme for the Knicks. And, and
Tyrese looked horrible.
They donked it with an 8-point lead in the fourth quarter. And it was like, I was despondent with the loss. And then, the final sequence with the threes, I guess, Nick Nurse probably has a modicum of a fair beef that he didn't get the timeout called, but it wasn't clean. I didn't think it was like a clean, surefire thing at all. Like, it was a little, because, if you're a referee, you have to see possession and then see the timeout. And It was so bang, bang. Like, I'm not like, I don't think this was by any, stretch of the imagination, the most egregious call. So, it was a bad break for them. And I think ultimately if there's certainly things they could have done to, kind of put themselves in a better position, but what a comeback from the Knicks. And my goodness gracious, I don't remember another team playing that hard, and kind of executing at that level in super high leverage situations. And then the Lakers Nuggets was just that kind of final sequence, the final really the entire fourth quarter told you everything you already kind of knew about the matchup between these two teams, which is the Lakers have, kind of a relatively thin lineup of players who can make a difference in a series against the world champions. And Anthony Davis completely running out of gas, considering how much he put into the offensive side of the ball in the first half, was somewhat predictable. LeBron did come to the rescue to a degree to kind of keep the Lakers' noses ahead, but got no support really from any of the supporting cast. And then, the Nuggets' kind of key advantage in this entire series is going to be their crunch time offense, where the Lakers' defense has structural issues defending a playmaker like Jamal Murray. And so the fact that he specifically was the difference in getting that win late in that game it all felt correct. It all felt perfect. And ultimately, I think the Lakers are probably going to be, they're going to be right around to pick them for maybe small dogs in game.
1 point dogs.
Game 3 in LA. So yeah, I mean, I could see them close and pick. Like, there's going to be a little bit of momentum on the Lakers considering how well they played over the balance of the game. But I don't see how this team is getting a win against this Nuggets team, particularly if it comes down to crunch time, because the Lakers defense is just structurally not equipped to handle. And like the supporting cast for a team like the Lakers typically plays better at home than they do on the road, which is why there's a little bit of a zigzag effect there. Certainly, whatever adjustments Darvin Ham has in his back pocket that he didn't use last night, he's going to have to use for Game 3. But I'm not necessarily expecting this series to go past Game 5 if it even gets there. And it's crazy because the margin between the teams is narrow, as we've now seen through 2 games.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. 5-game series. What else could the Lakers have done? By the way, a couple notes just to wrap that up. Kyle Lowry, career 81.5% free throw shooter when he made the 1 and 2. And Anthony Davis, to your point, 0 points. 1 shot, 0 points in the fourth quarter last night. Games 3 of both of those series, including the Cleveland-Orlando Game 3, is all on Thursday. Tonight we have a triple-header. Tomorrow's a doubleheader. Kelly and I were talking about this earlier, that one of the games tomorrow in the doubleheader is Boston-Miami. So effectively, the NBA is sort of saying, let's take a night off with just one game.
There's your bye day. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about the 3 today. T-Wolves up 1 are 3-point favorites against the Suns. Bucks up 1 are 1-point favorites against the Pacers. And the Clippers up 1 are 1.5-point dogs against the Mavs. Do you have a play in any of those?
Yeah, so my fair on Minnesota Phoenix is 3, so I don't have a side in that one. At 3, I got a little bit of a stake at 2.5, but it was nothing to write home about. The total to me looks too low. I think kind of Phoenix's key adjustment is going to have to be an uptick in pace. The way that their defense was exposed, I think, is problematic for them if they can't get their offense going. They're in deep trouble in this game and in this series, and I think ultimately Minnesota wins, but I also don't see a game that's going to be contested in the 212s. My fair on this one is closer to 220, so I got some over in Phoenix, Minnesota. The Indy-Milwaukee game is fascinating because like the series price and the game 1 price were just like flat out wrong. And that's rare, but it was wrong for a reason. Like there was very quiet speculation about Dame Lillard's, kind of just general ability to, to show up and be fit. He was missing practice last week. There was rumors that it was a more serious injury than, that they were letting on. And if you watched any of Game 1, no, he was fine. And he was actually quite good.
Yes.
And in fact, the real questions and issues were about Tyrese Halliburton and whether or not he's going to show up for this series. And honestly, he may not show up until Game 3 because he did not seem ready. And it wasn't even like, he was getting good looks and they just weren't falling. Like, he was unengaged. And I think that's a problem. So I think Bucks probably win this one. I think the under is probably good because the pace is so much slower than it was projected. So that one to me looks like Bucks and under. And then Dallas, I have Dallas series price. I'm riding it out. I feel not great about it considering that supporting cast, but fingers crossed they win.
Drew, always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Best of luck.
We'll come back. Eric Eager on the NFL Draft next.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Don't miss out on any of the NBA playoff action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in tournament through the finals, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boost, and so much more. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code VSiN, that's VSIN. New customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's code VSIN. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. We get tweets at Beating the Book. I've begun to gather my things. Rickshaw, Kelley. Rickshaw is what I was looking for.
Yeah, the great Seinfeld picture there.
PAW. NFL draft info was airtight last year, too. NFL definitely sent memos to teams regarding the gambling aspect of the draft over the last few years. Some states, Pennsylvania, doesn't consider the draft to be a sporting event to wager on, only going to be more tight going forward, he says. Mike Alvarez, I've been listening to Gill for over 10 years, and it's hard to say which brings him more joy. Lakers, Dodgers, or Raiders losses. If I had to rank them, I'd go Dodgers 1, Lakers 2, Raiders 3. Unfortunately for me, those are my 3 favorite teams. Oh, it's Cowboys 1 above all. It's not even close. Cowboys and everybody else is second.
You know, you're a pretty fair guy, though.
I'm a fair guy.
Now that I'm thinking about this, like it probably would be Cowboys, but Gill doesn't come on here ever and go on a Cowboys rant.
I'm not Stephen A. Bruce Dobiggin. Gilly's Capitals, far from the worst playoff team ever. In the 1980s, the NHL let 16 of 21 teams into the playoffs, often sub 500. In 1982, the Kings had 48 points fewer than the Oilers and won. All right, there you go. We'll get to more tweets because there's tons of these, and I want to get to them, and all are very cool. Best listeners ever. But we have Dr. Eric Eager with us from SumerSports, and so we want to bring him in courtesy of the Progressive guest line for those unfamiliar with Eric Eager. For so many years, he has come on the show. You can follow him on Twitter at @EricEager_. That's @EricEager_. What are you, VP over there at SumerSports? What's your official title, Eric?
VP of Research and Development.
Oh, VP of R&D. Okay, I have a question for you that Drew actually gets credit for, because on the way out, Drew says, can't wait to listen to Eager because he's walking this fine line. And what he's referring to is, you work with NFL teams at SumerSports, and yet here you are about to talk NFL draft gambling content with us. You are a bit of a trapeze artist with that, aren't you?
For sure, and it was a thing that was true at Pro Football Focus as well, where I spent 7 years. Ultimately, it mostly comes down to the direction of the information. So if the direction of the information goes from me to a team, it's fine. If the direction is from a team to me, then that gets a little bit messy. And so you really do have to kind of make sure that you wall off, you have to wall off your experiences, in the media space, in the betting space, from that second piece, which is getting information from teams, which will sometimes happen. It's not nearly as big of a volume of the actual work that we do, which is mostly building tools and everything for NFL teams. So that's kind of the deal. So usually if we're sending recommendations or sending research papers or that kind of thing, the information goes in one direction. That's not an issue. The issue is when a team comes forward and asks about a particular player, then you actually have to you have to take pretty drastic steps to avoid things.
Interesting. Yeah, because I can see it. By the way, high wire, not trapeze. I should point out that's the more appropriate metaphor. All right.
A regular Walenda.
You are a Walenda. For those of a certain age, he is a Walenda. Okay, that's awesome. All right, let's start. What do you think you know? What do you think you know for sure?
Very little, because these teams are not leaking anything. I think that the market movements on the Washington Commanders' second pick, for example, I've said on this network basically for the last 2 months, I've always felt that this was more of a pick 'em than anything. But you do have to respect the market. That is, that's something I think where a lot of people, you look at Adam Schefter, for example, infamously or famously in 2021 got the Mac Jones to San Francisco wrong. Adam Peters, who's the GM of the Commanders, was one of the lieutenants in San Francisco for when that happened. So it's a very, I think, decent tie-in with a team like the Niners who never really leak anything versus, now that the Commanders, very rarely leak anything. And most of what you're seeing from Schefter, for example, is secondhand from other teams, what other teams think Washington's going to do, which is useful, of course, but not necessarily all that predictive. And then I have to think that Minnesota, Denver, New York, and I think to a lesser extent Las Vegas are going to be bidding up for that pick 3 for New England. I think that's one where New England can talk a big game, but they don't have enough talent to support that young quarterback, and there's going to be enough teams bidding against each other to make that trade worthwhile for them.
Is there a scenario where New England doesn't get an offer that knocks their socks off, Daniels is gone at 2, and they don't take Drake May at 3?
I don't think so, because I think that May has kind of that prototypical big physical, a lot of times when you look at, when people break up with somebody or they fire a head coach, they normally go with like the complete opposite the next time around. And New England just got off of Mac Jones, kind of a pudgy, like bad arm quarterback. Drake May is the exact opposite of that, right? He's a physical specimen who may not have had the production that a Mac Jones had his final year at North Carolina, but has all those physical tools, has the size to withstand injuries, which again, if you're going to draft him into a team that has relatively little in the way of protection, he's going to have to withstand that better than maybe a Jaden Daniels or to a lesser extent a JJ McCarthy. I think that if he goes at 3, if he gets to 3, he'll be picked at 3 with respect to May.
Okay. Great. By the way, that's the best scouting report I've ever heard about Mac Jones. A pudgy, bad-armed quarterback. All right, if people are landing here now, they're like, I don't have a single NFL draft bet. I want to make 1 or 2. What are the bets they should make right now, Aaron?
Oh, that's a good one. I think unders on Joe Alt are good. I think that there's a number of different outs where that wins. So 7.5 is his number. I think that if the chart, so let's say a team leapfrogs the Giants to get up to 5. He'll probably land to the Titans at 7. I think that's a very natural place. I think the Titans are looking for a tried and true player at that position. Bill Callahan is brought in to rebuild that offensive line. They took Skoranek last year high. I think they'll take Alt high there. If no one does and the Chargers are stuck there, so let's say it goes to 3 quarterbacks and then Marvin Harrison at 4, and the Giants sort of stay pat, then the Chargers could take Joe Alt.
I like that. Yeah.
And so you have 2 different outs where that can be the case. And if you get a surprise, let's say Oli Fashanu, who I know there are people who like him just as much. If Oli Fashanu were to surprise and be the first tackle taken, there's an out there. He could go to the Chargers, and then the Titans would take him anyway. So there's, I think, a number of outs that get Joe Alt into that range. And then the one for me is the under quarterbacks in the first round. And you're getting plus money there. I would not, I did say Alt under, which means, which is a negative price at this point. You're better off in a lot of these taking the plus price, which is the under quarterbacks. Historically, we've seen Drew Lock fall out of round 1. We saw Will Levis last year. We saw, there was times when, Desmond Ridder was better than even money to be a first round pick, Matt Corral, et cetera. Like those last quarterbacks that we all kind of have to make excuses for, they always fall out of round 1. And there's a reason for that economically. The 5th-year option for a well-developed offensive lineman is about half that of the 5th-year option for a well-developed quarterback. And quarterbacks are worth more, but that decision is still like a pretty tough one. And I think in a draft where there's expected to be 9.5 offensive linemen juiced over, I think teams are going to say, okay, I got to trade back into round 1, secure that 5th-year option. It used to be for quarterbacks prior to the new CBA. Now it's going to be for, I think, premium positions that are a little bit less expensive that develop later, like offensive tackle. So I think that wide receiver, quarterback, I think that all of those positions, corner potentially, all shade under, because there are going to be teams in the second round that are going to trade back into the first round and try to grab one of those last offensive linemen and get that fifth-year option.
Wow, that's interesting. All right, we got to run 20 seconds. Give me a one-team answer. What's the team that screws up their draft pick, that will inevitably botch this?
That's a good question. Let's go with the Jets.
Let's go with the Jets. Always a safe answer, Eric. Dr. Eric Eager at Eric Eager _ VP of R&D at SumerSports. Always great, man. Enjoy the draft.
Hey, you guys too. Best week of the year. Have fun, guys.
Best week of the year, no doubt. Dr. Eric Eager, always great checking in with him. We will come back. Paul Carr with some midweek Premier League plays. We got some baseball as well. And bets we added in the draft next.